Part 53. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 521. Came back to his senses and quickly picked up the walkie-talkie that had been placed aside. Lao Li, a black car with the Beijing Actherk's license plate just drove in from your side. Yes, what's wrong? I also want to ask you what's wrong. Have you reported this car in advance? Why does it look so strange to me? I was puzzled at first. Just when I was about to stop, the lifting rod rose by itself. Then the license plate number must have been entered into our system earlier. It's one of our own. Okay, I get it. However, this made him unsure whether this person was an honored guest of Vice President Yuan. How can one of our own be a guest? He thought about pushing open the door of the security room and was about to go out when he saw the black car parked firmly under the information building. Then the passenger door opened and a beautiful girl got out of the car. At first glance, it looked strange, but upon closer inspection, it felt vaguely familiar. Hello girl, I'm the security guard here. Zhang Lingzi just received a voice call from Jian Yihan. The information building is right? We are already downstairs. In fact, she didn't need to say anything. Just by the voice of the security guard downstairs coming from the microphone, Jian Yihan was sure that Zhang Lingzi had really arrived, and she didn't go the wrong way as she thought. Wait a minute, I'll be down soon. Hang up the call. Zhang Lingzi looked to the side of the security guard, who noticed that she shut up decisively after the call. We are here to see Mr. Elder. Oh, Teacher Qian specially said hello to me just now. She and Vice President Yuan will be on the third floor. As soon as he finished speaking, a voice came from above, Miss Zhang. Zhang Lingzi raised her head and waved to Jian Yishan, who stuck his head out in the corridor to greet her. Wait for me, I'll go down and open the door for you. While waiting for Jian Yishan to come down and help open the door, the driver's door of the black car was also opened. The security guard subconsciously turned his head and looked over. When I saw the person coming out of the driver's seat, I couldn't help but take a breath. Had it not been known that the other party was a guest of Vice President Yuan, no one would have doubted that he was also here to film the show. When the two of them stood together, even the simple and dark information building beside them felt a little brighter in an instant. However, Shen Yunqing's appearance was shocking in the eyes of the security guard, but a little more frightened in the eyes of Jian Yishan, who had just rushed downstairs. Shen, Mr. Shen. Shen Yunqing nodded slightly towards Jian Yihan, whose face was full of shock. So Jian Yishan walked the next short distance of less than 30 meters with hands and feet. Miss Zhang, the teacher is waiting for you on the third floor. I'll take you up. You are too polite. It is only right that I let Miss Zhang and Mr. Shen make this special trip. The information building is a renovated ancient building. There is no elevator inside, so you have to climb the stairs all the way. Jian Yuchen led the way, looking back from time to time to look at Zhang Lingzi and Shen Yunqing, who were walking behind. The initial shock has eased a lot looking back now. Even though she is barely considered Zhang Lingzi's only fan, she has to say at this moment that the two of them are really a good match. The outstanding appearance is secondary, but the harmonious atmosphere between the two people, giving people a feeling that even a needle cannot be inserted into them. By the way, I don't know how Miss Zhang and Mr. Shen came in through the side door. I haven't had time to say hello to the security guard over there and let them go. Zhang Lingzi paused and turned her head to glance at Shen Yunqing, who was walking beside her. She really didn't know that she had to say hello in advance to let her go. When the car reached the side door, the lift rod went up directly, and they drove the car to the side without any obstruction. When I came here before, I seemed to have recorded the license plate number. Oh. Jian Yuchen couldn't help but be speechless when he looked at the two people who responded indifferently and the other who deserved even more indifferently. Is Mr. Shen also a member of our Painting and Calligraphy Association? If so, it's impossible for her not to have an impression. But if you are not a member, How can the license plate number be entered into the access control system of the Calligraphy and Painting Association? No, I just came to help. Qian Yihan nodded and did not ask any more questions. Although Mr. Shen looked about the same age as her on the surface, and no one would refute even saying he was younger than her, this person was in her eyes. His status in his heart is similar to that of a teacher. It would be offensive to ask any more. But it didn't leave her confused for too long. When she reached the stairs on the third floor, Qian Yishan looked up and saw the teacher waiting in front. He quickly introduced, "Teacher, this is Miss Zhang and her boyfriend." Yuan Hui adjusted the reading glasses hanging on the bridge of his nose and waved his hand towards Qian Yihan. "I don't need your introduction, I know him. Miss Zhang has seen it on TV. This, Mr. Shen, is Miss Jiang's partner." Shen Yunqing took the initiative to hand over his hand. "Senior, long time no see. It's been a long time since we've seen each other." Qian Yuchain looked at Shen Yunqing and then at his teacher. He felt that his brain was a little lacking. "Teacher, do you know Mr. Shen?" "We know each other, but not very well. I asked you how can you come in directly from the side door. If it's Mr. Shen, then it's no problem. Our Calligraphy and Painting Association once loaned him to him for a period of time, and we met him a few times during that time." After saying that, he looked at Zhang Lingzi eagerly and said, "Miss Zhang, let's go to the house and talk." Although he and Shen Yunqing were barely old acquaintances, now was obviously not the time to reminisce about the past. It was Zhang Lingzi's copy of Blue Waves and everything that troubled him even more. When Zhang Lingzi entered, she saw a huge desk with messy information. Then she looked at the red bloodshot threads that crawled up under Yuan Hui's reading glasses and the ink on her hands that she didn't have time to wipe. What Yi Hong said before is true. This old man is indeed a little obsessed with research. The first thing the other party asked after entering the door also confirmed her guess. "Miss Zhang, have you seen the original work of Bibo Wangxiang?" Zhang Lingzi saw the book closest to her, with a handwritten calligraphy on the cover, several layers of speculations on Xian Weiyun's true identity, which made her eyes twitch. Everyone knows the divine painter Xian Weiyun, but they never thought that this would be someone's vest. Has this veteran gentleman actually researched to this point? Thinking of this, she pursed her lips and nodded, "Yes." In an instant, Yuan Hui's bloodshot eyes burst out with extremely fiery light. "Where did you see it?" It was Zhang Lingzi who looked at Yuan Hui, but this time it was Shen Yunqing who replied, "In my collection room." Watching someone delve so seriously into the life of one of his identities, I have to say that he does feel a little complicated. Looking at Yuan Hui's eyes that were almost shining, Shen Yunqing couldn't help coughing lightly. "I want to know why Mr. Yuan wants to study Xian Weiyun." Yuan Hui was silent for a moment and touched the documents on the table that he had looked over and over again. "I want to know what happened to such an amazing and talented painter in this world, or was there someone who made him willing to do so, giving up such a great honor and leaving calligraphy and painting so simply?" Zhang Lingzi's heart moved when she heard this. She looked at Shen Yunqing's hand on the table and shook it without leaving any trace. No one noticed this scene, and Yuan Hui was still sighing. "I always feel that there must be some story covered up by layers of history. At first, I felt unwilling to be able to find anything in the research, but the more I researched, the more I found out. I think there is a lot to be discovered in it. If I am lucky enough to see his original work, I may not be able to tell anything from it. I wonder if I can go to Mr. Shen's collection room." Zhang Lingzi blinked when Shen Yunqing looked towards her. "Yes, but not today." Although Yuan Hui is in an urgent mood, he also knows that the authentic artifacts that are more than 1,000 years old must be preserved in an impeccable manner. "As long as I can take a look at it, I will be satisfied. I didn't expect that you two can bring me something when you come over. Such a big surprise. Miss Zhang and Mr. Shen are such a good match." Qian Yuchain's eyes widened silently when she saw the teacher who was so quick to compliment others. Is this still the cold-faced old man she remembered? Speaking of calligraphy and painting, especially those related to the divine painter Siem Weun. There is never a time when Zhang Lingzi or Shen Yunqing cannot talk to Yuan Hui. Until someone's stomach rumbled several times. Qian Yuchain clutched her stomach with an embarrassed look on her face. What about that, teacher, Ms. Zhang, Mr. Shen, it's already noon, why don't we go down to have a meal first, and then make a cup of tea and continue chatting about the restaurants in our association, and afternoon tea is pretty good. Yuan Hui also slapped his forehead. Look at me, when I was having so much fun, I forgot that it was already dinner time. Let's go eat first. The four of them got up and closed the door and went downstairs. As they were about to reach the first floor, a security guard suddenly shouted from outside. Stop, 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 where are you going? Have you seen the sign here? If you are idle, stop and leave quickly. Following this was a girl's voice that spoke less standard Mandarin. Sorry, I was looking for the toilet and accidentally got lost. The toilet is over there, you are going the wrong way. Excuse me. Zhang Lingzi was originally talking to Shen Yunqing in a low voice with her head tilted, until she was keenly aware of the camera. Her soft eyes suddenly became sharp and she looked in the direction of the camera. The staff member carrying the camera suddenly shook his hands and almost dropped the machine to the ground. However, although the camera was shaking, it still captured the face of the man who was going downstairs. The live broadcast room of the program that was started simultaneously was in an uproar. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 522. I must have read it right just now. Zhang Lingzi has been in hiding for several days since it was revealed that she was in love and became a trending topic. It's her, you read the previous one correctly. The program said that there is another mysterious guest in this episode. Could it be Zhang Lingzi? Wait a minute, what did the security guard say just now? No one is allowed in. Zhang Lingzi has already gone in. Why didn't you say that? Yes, it is treated differently. I thought this sister was hiding from the limelight because of the hotly searched things about her relationship, but I didn't expect that she was still so radiant and didn't seem to be affected at all. Where's the camera? Where's the camera? I want to see who is the man next to Zhang Lingzi. It just so happened that the photographer responsible for the guest shots here had just received instructions from the program director, asking him to move the camera to Zhang Lingzi and the man next to her. But the key is, he doesn't dare. His legs weakened just after that look came over him. If this happened again, he felt that he would become incontinent on the spot. No exaggeration. Before he could think about how to find an angle so that the person being secretly recorded could not notice it and he could complete the task assigned by the director, Yuan Hui, who had already stepped down the last step, frowned and said, "What's going on?" The security guard quickly went over and explained, "Vice President Yuan, today the president's granddaughter came to the association to film a program. This little foreign girl got lost looking for the toilet and found her way here. Don't worry, I will let them leave immediately." Although the real host cannot be seen in the live broadcast room, the voice can be heard. What did the security guard call the slovenly old man walking in front of Zhang Lingzi just now? Vice President Yuan, I just went to the official website of the Painting and Calligraphy Association to search, Yuan Hui, Vice President of the Painting and Calligraphy Association, a well-known contemporary calligrapher and painter. The series of titles that followed caused all the viewers in the live broadcast room to fall silent. What broke the silence was the surprised voice of his idol, "You are Zhang, nice to meet you." Zhang Lingzi looked at the little curly-haired girl in front of her who was wearing a short skirt and long boots on a cold day, exposing her two white thighs. "Hello, do you know me? I have seen the video of your catwalk show, and I have always liked the design of Yoon. I think your interpretation of Yoon is very good. That show was particularly amazing. I really regret not going to see it live." Zhang Lingzi was not used to this excessive enthusiasm, but she still nodded politely, "Thank you." Seeing his guests approaching, the photographer naturally would not miss this opportunity. The camera finally became sensible for a time, and the old mother was pleased. "Wow, isn't this the perfect combination of Yuji and Loli? Annie is already quite small, but now she looks even more petite standing next to Zhang Lingzi. Screenshot, must be taken." As for the man who just walked next to Zhang Lingzi, when the camera first caught sight of him, the two of them seemed to be talking quietly with their heads tilted to one side. "I bet a bag of melon seeds that that man is definitely related to Zhang Lingzi." When the two of them went downstairs together, their arms touched each other. They had already exceeded the safe social distance. Unfortunately, they didn't see clearly what they looked like. It's all because the camera moved too fast and it was dazzling. No one cares about why Zhang Lingzi appears here? Isn't it the mysterious guest mentioned by the program team? Will the mysterious guest walk with the vice president of the Calligraphy and Painting Association? Is it possible that Zhang Lingzi still has something to do with the Painting and Calligraphy Association? I forgot about the heritage she shot before. She is quite accomplished in calligraphy and painting, so she may not be accepted by the Painting and Calligraphy Association. The audience is still scratching their heads and speculating about the unexpected meeting between the two parties, but one of them is already preparing to withdraw. "We have to go to dinner, so I won't disturb you to continue recording the show." "Oh, okay, Zhang, I hope we have the opportunity to cooperate in the future." Annie watched them leave, then faced the camera with her little fist and encouraged herself, "I didn't expect to meet Zhang here. She has such a strong aura and a good temperament. I like her so much." Suddenly a series of barrage messages appeared on the screen. "My Annie is cute too," words like this floated by. Until a long barrage appeared. "I sent a private message to ask the program team, and the program team responded that Zhang Lingzi was not the mystery guest of their program. Since the program team has responded, then it was really just a coincidence that we met just now. Zhang Lingzi's appearance in this Calligraphy and Painting Association can only be due to other things. This person is also very reclusive. If you search for other celebrities, their news will be overwhelming on the internet. But this person is not bad. Except for those old ones, he has appeared several times in the past 6 months. Why didn't the program team invite Zhang Lingzi?" The program director, who was peeking at the screen in the live broadcast room, couldn't help but wipe away bitter tears. Zhang Lingzi is very popular now, so he naturally wants to invite her. But when the invitation was sent to Zhang Lingzi's agent, she was turned back. The other party bluntly said that there was a schedule conflict. Their lover is here to meet the vice president of the Calligraphy and Painting Association, which is indeed much more important than being a mysterious guest in their lukewarm little variety show. A nanny car heading to the Painting and Calligraphy Association. Zhang Ziyu threw his phone on the chair with a dark face. "I'm not going." Zhang Yuding turned around and glared at the sound. "What are you making a fuss about? This is your first announcement after finishing filming The Legend of the Fallen City. Don't forget that you have to help the show to promote it. Besides, you have to sign the contract. Well, you won't go if you don't want to." Zhang Ziyu said with a sullen face. "Take your phone and take a look." "What are you looking at?" Zhang Yuding said and took out her mobile phone. Zhang Ziyu grinned at his teeth and said, "Just search Zhang Lingzi appeared at the Painting and Calligraphy Association and you'll find out." Zhang Yuding subconsciously raised her head and looked towards her. She pursed her lips and said nothing. She entered the text and clicked search. After entering the topic, she saw that there was a flame logo after the topic, which meant that the discussion was still rising. The picture at the bottom of the topic was taken from a live broadcast. Although it was still a little blurry, she could recognize Zhang Lingzi's face at a glance, let alone Zhang Ziyu. Why did Zhang Lingzi go to the Calligraphy and Painting Association? The director clearly told me that there was only one mysterious guest. There is another thing she didn't say. Now Zhang Lingzi probably won't be on a variety show like this that purely brings in newcomers. You ask me, how do I know? Anyway, as soon as Zhang Lingzi showed up, no matter whether it was intentional or not, the topic all went to her. What's the point of me going? Then you want to pay 3 million in liquidated damages. Zhang 11 said, If she had put it before, she would have really looked down upon 3 million. But in the past 6 months, she seemed to have been memorizing words. Her career was retreating steadily, and naturally she didn't make much money. However, her consumption did not drop, resulting in less and less savings. On the contrary, Zhang Lingzi, who was once suppressed by her, has been rising steadily in the past 6 months, and is favored by 2 major brands. Even a hot search that the owner has not responded to can be listed on the internet for 2 or 3 days. Can she not be jealous? She was so jealous that her eyes were bleeding. 11 You, if you think about it, this matter will not be of any benefit to you. We all know that you and Zhang Lingzi are rivals. Now the mysterious guest of the program has invited you over instead of Zhang Lingzi. Zhang Lingzi has already heated up the scene in advance. We can just pick up what's already there. These days, what is hot is not hot, as long as you can get benefits from it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 523. Chao Xinyan, who was highly praised by the show as soon as N returned, grabbed her arm. You just met Zhang Lingzi on the way to the toilet, didn't you? Annie looked at her excited look and felt a little strange, but she still nodded. Zhang is more beautiful in real life than what I saw in the video, and her aura is so strong. It's hard to imagine that she is actually the same age as me. Cao Xinyan tried her best to stay excited and nodded cooperatively. I like her too. I grew up with my grandfather since I was a child. My grandfather always said that I learned how to hold a brush and scribble before I could read. I also watched the episode of painting and calligraphy handed down from generation to generation in which Zhang Lingzi participated in the recording. Among the guests, her paintings were my favorite. Even my grandfather said that she was very accomplished in calligraphy and painting. Anne and her twin sister Andy, who walked next to her, exchanged a speechless look that only twins could understand. Their faces were a little surprised. Really? Jiang's calligraphy and painting are actually so good. You said that. Can you still watch that show? I want to go back and watch it. I have always liked your calligraphy and painting works, which are very charming. The last word Yun was spoken by her in less than standard Mandarin, which made everyone laugh. Cao Xinyan narrowed her eyes with a smile and nodded repeatedly. Of course you can. You can see it by searching the name of the program or Zhang Lingzi's name on all major video software. As she spoke, she touched her belly and winked at the camera playfully. I'm a little hungry, how about you? In addition to the twins Anne and Andy, the other 2 guests also nodded in agreement. The Painting and Calligraphy Association is so big and the scenery is so beautiful. I walked around until noon before I knew it. Thanks to Xinyan for taking us in this time. Otherwise, if we can only say wow, it's beautiful to the calligraphy and painting, we might never be able to get in. Okay, let's go have lunch next. The restaurant inside the Calligraphy and Painting Association was originally a scene from the park, and the food is delicious. People from outside need to make a reservation if they want to come to eat. Anyway, I grew up eating. I never got tired of it. The 4 people next to her listened to her showing off overtly and covertly, and they could only express their envy and yearning in cooperation. They knew before coming to this show that the main character of this live variety show was Cao Xinyan, and they were there to serve as a foil. After all, not only did I have a grandfather who was the president of the Painting and Calligraphy Association, but I had grown up in places like the Painting and Calligraphy Association, and ordinary people couldn't get in. Sometimes it is also useful to spell out the background. As for whether the sudden proposal to go to the restaurant for dinner was because they wanted to meet John Lindsay by chance, even if they guessed it, they pretended they didn't know. Even if the program team has guessed the little juju in Cao Zinyan's heart, they are still willing to cooperate. Due to John Lindsay's appearance in just a few minutes, the number of people who came in has tripled from before. The 3 words John Lindsay are like traffic passwords. At this moment, 2 voices appeared in the live broadcast room because of Cao Zinyan's words. One is pure envy. Why don't I have a grandpa with the same style? I also want to enjoy the freedom of coming and going in such a prestigious place as the Painting and Calligraphy Association. I know that the restaurant of the Calligraphy and Painting Association was originally a very famous private restaurant. Later, it was hired by the Calligraphy and Painting Association because of its wealth. Now I can't even make a reservation. I envy people who can eat in private restaurants. Thanks to us Zinyan for this program, otherwise ordinary people like me would never have the opportunity to see what the inside of the Painting and Calligraphy Association is like. The other type is that there is some criticism mixed with reason. Grandpa is the president of the Painting and Calligraphy Association, and he has been playing in the Painting and Calligraphy Association since he was a child. This is indeed worth showing off, because ordinary people have no access to it. But why don't you show off over and over again? To be honest, I'm a little tired of hearing it. I remember that on the car ride to the Painting and Calligraphy Association, Cao Zinyan said that she had recently taken on a role as a talented woman from ancient times and was fasting to lose weight. Why was she going to lunch again? She couldn't have hoped to meet John Lindsay by chance. Purpose. I also remembered, did this girl forget that this show was a live broadcast, so she slapped herself in the face? Although her motives seem a bit impure, I am still looking forward to it. If John Lindsay doesn't go out to do business on her own, I'll be satisfied with just meeting her on another show. I wonder if the photographer can take a picture of the man walking next to John Lindsay this time. I'm really curious about what he looks like. The topic just got twisted unconsciously. Asterisk. The restaurant is not noisy during mealtime. First of all, the space is large, the tables are spaced far apart, and separated by screens or green plants, which virtually reduces the spread of noise. Secondly, people who dine in this restaurant don't talk loudly at the dinner table or even fight with each other over wine. Even if everyone wants to speak, they deliberately lower their voices and even need the neighboring table to listen carefully to hear them. The elegant Gukhan sound flows quietly in the space, not being obscured at all by the sounds of eating and talking. It wasn't until Cao Zinyan and others walked in swarm, and the sound of talking and walking disturbed the people who were eating nearby. However, after seeing that the familiar juniors came in, and that the program was clearly being broadcast live, they all nodded politely and looked away. However, Cao Zinyan first greeted a few familiar elders lively, and after receiving responses and envious looks from other guests, she continued to lead the way while deliberately lowering her voice and said, "There are many of us, so we can go to the big round table inside. It's for dinner parties and can accommodate us all." The others were here for the first time, so they could only nod and follow her inside. The photographer also did his best to take photos of the guests and the beautiful scenery in the restaurant. The audience in the live broadcast room didn't care to listen to Cao Zinyan's show off from time to time. I can't imagine that this environment is just the canteen of the Painting and Calligraphy Association. It is indeed a place where elegant people gather. Even if ordinary people can enter this place, I would probably be embarrassed to go in, for fear of making any noise while eating vegetables and drinking soup. We are almost at the innermost part. Why haven't we seen John Lindsay yet? Could it be that she didn't come here to eat at all? Wait a minute, I seem to see a piece of clothing that looks familiar. Why did the team suddenly stop? There is a reason for stopping. Several guests have just received messages from the program team. The mysterious guest has arrived, let's go to the door to pick them up. Everyone and the audience in the live broadcast room, although there is indeed a little expectation for the mysterious guest, it is indeed a bit wrong to come at the wrong time. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 524. Hello everyone, my name is Zhang Ziyu. After seeing who the so-called mysterious guests were, except for the two newcomers Annie and Andy, including Cao Xinyan, all three guests were confused for a moment. Although the three people adjusted quickly, this was a live variety show, and the changes in the three people's demeanor had been captured by many viewers in the live broadcast room. However, the reaction of many viewers in the live broadcast room was not much better than theirs. Anyone who knows Zhang Lingzi or Zhang Ziyu will know their past relationship in the industry. That's a tit-for-tat confrontation. As long as one becomes louder, the other will become silent. It's just that it was Zhang Ziyu who was high-profile before, and Zhang Lingzi who fell silent. Now it's the other way around. It is as if there is a pair of big hands behind the two people that can control everything, allowing only one of the two to take the lead. If this Zhang Lingzi is eating in the restaurant, and now Zhang Ziyu comes. Everyone suddenly became excited when they thought of this. Originally, I just randomly picked a live variety show to help with the meal, but I didn't expect to see the Shura field there. What an unexpected surprise. The mysterious guest turned out to be Zhang Ziyu. It is said that the sister has not had any good news for several months. Although the account is often open, it seems to be used to maintain popularity, and there is no endorsement or new drama promotion. It can only be said that it confirms the saying circulated in the industry. In the entertainment industry, where there is Zhang Ziyu, there is no Zhang Lingzi, and where there is Zhang Lingzi, there is no Zhang Ziyu. But looking at Zhang Ziyu's condition under the camera, it seems that he is not in a good condition. When he smiles at the camera, there are lines at the corners of his eyes. Is it possible that being popular can really nourish people? The decline in status after losing popularity must be too great. Zhang Ziyu is not 1 year younger than Zhang Lingzi, but looking at it this way, Zhang Lingzi looks a little younger. I really want to see the scene when the two of them suddenly meet later. After receiving Zhang 11's words, everyone turned back to the restaurant. Although Zhang Ziyu's popularity has dropped a lot now, he is still considered a senior to several guests present. Being called sister one after another, and the compliments being whispered in my ears became even more constant. The original depression caused by seeing Zhang Lingzi appear at the Painting and Calligraphy Association was relieved a lot. When he entered the restaurant, he held his head high and took the initiative to look for Zhang Lingzi. She previously watched the screenshots taken by the audience in the live broadcast room and uploaded them online. She speculated that Zhang Lingzi did not know that a program crew came to the Calligraphy and Painting Association for filming today. She was only wearing ordinary home clothes and did not do any special makeup. How can it be compared to her specially made whole body look from head to toe? Zhang Lingzi took the wet tissue handed over by Shen Yunqing and wiped the corners of her mouth. Just as she was about to stand up, she saw a person carrying a camera walking towards her. This equipment couldn't be more familiar to her. She simply sat back down again and held down Shen Yunqing, who was about to stand up with her. At the same time, her other hand quickly pulled the folded screen to her side. The whole set of movements was smooth, and it only took less than 10 seconds to complete. Shen Yunqing didn't ask anything and poured another cup of tea. Qian Yishan was shocked at first by her nimble skills, but then couldn't help but wonder, Zhang. Hush. Another voice happened to come from outside the screen, is Sister Zhang looking for someone? Seeing that Qian Yishan was still wondering who the Sister Zhang was calling, she heard another voice reply, no, I just think this restaurant is very beautiful. As she replied, Zhang Ziyu cursed in her mind that Cao Xinyan was too talkative. She hadn't seen Zhang Lingzi yet, so she couldn't continue to look around after being asked this question. Fortunately, things have turned around. Xinyan. She quickly gestured. Cao Xinyan subconsciously looked in the direction she indicated, and saw the old man walking back this way. Her eyes suddenly lit up. Grandpa Yuan Hui chatted with Zhang Lingzi and Shen Yunqing at the banquet and drank a lot of tea. Drinks. I just came out of the bathroom, and before I could return to the table, I bumped into the granddaughter of the president's family. Even though I was impatient, I nodded. It's Xinyan. Grandpa Yuan, have you eaten? I will bring the program team here to record the program today. Have eaten. I know that you are recording the program, but you still need to be careful to restrain everyone. You should also know that some places of the Painting and Calligraphy Association store very important information and ancient calligraphy and paintings. If you accidentally break in, you will damage it. Who? Yuan Hui didn't care that there were still cameras at this moment, so he didn't care even if he saw him. He continued to criticize and warn him seriously as usual. Cao Xinyan and Zhang Ziyu, who was standing next to her and accompanying her to the training, could only listen and nod with stiff smiles on their faces. The audience in the live broadcast room almost went crazy laughing. Mr. Elder, right? Now I remember him, a super upright and outspoken old man. Previously, the seniors treated Cao Xinyan, a junior, quite kindly, but the sudden appearance of such a senior with a different style of painting is quite unforgettable. The key is, what kind of trouble is Zhang Ziyu going to do if he seems to be obediently listening to the instructions? Behind the screen not far away, Zhang Lingzi thought that everything would be fine as long as there was a screen to protect her, but she didn't expect that the elder gentleman just came back. Moreover, the guest on the show she met before actually included Zhang Ziyu. Shen Yunqing's voice came to her, how about I go hide behind you? Need not. Zhang Lingzi shook her head without thinking, there is nothing to hide. The more generous you are, the less likely anyone will doubt anything. Even if I have doubts, what can I do? Qian Yuchen listened quietly and gave Zhang Lingzi a thumbs up. I think Miss Zhang is right. As Yuan Hui walked towards Cao Xinyan after giving some instructions, the camera of the program team also quietly moved its angle. Before Yuan Hui could wonder how the screen was closed, the screen was removed the next second. Zhang Lingzi calmly retracted her hand and nodded to the old man who sat back down. The next second, he glanced in the direction of the camera. The director's call came from the headset of the photographer responsible for this shot. Hold on. Zhang Ziyu also looked over. When he saw Zhang Lingzi's face that was still shiny and rosy without any makeup, especially when she felt the vaguely familiar aura suppressing her, the confident smile on her face froze. But after she saw clearly who was sitting next to Zhang Lingzi, she performed a big face change directly in front of the audience in the live broadcast room. Fortunately, there were not many viewers still looking at her, and almost everyone's eyes were focused on the two figures sitting side by side. Who is that? Are there any compatriots in the live broadcast room who would like to meet Mr. Shen by chance? Mr. Shen, oh my God, I finally saw you again. I have been to Yinhe Palace several times during this period. Unfortunately, I didn't meet him once. Fortunately, I saw him on this little show arrive. Xing above, this is the Painting and Calligraphy Association. Ordinary people like us can't get in, let alone meet by chance. Doesn't anyone doubt why Zhang Lingzi is with Shen Yunqing? I feel that these two people are seated much closer than the other two people at the same table. Hey, I have a bold guess. Don't mention it yet, I have it too. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 525. Cao Xinyan and Zhang Ziyu originally looked over with their own purposes, but when they actually saw the person, their moods became extremely complicated. Zhang Ziyu was extremely shocked, mixed with indescribable jealousy, and had the urge to rush forward at all costs and break the extremely harmonious scene in front of him. Although Cao Xinyan's emotions were not as strong as hers, Her heart was still full of emotions, and streams of sour water were pouring out. She truly comes from a family of artists. Her grandfather is the president of the Painting and Calligraphy Association, and her parents are also well-known figures in the art world. She has been influenced by art since she was a child. Since she became popular on the internet by virtue of her background in an artistic family and her own artistic talent, she has become more popular on the internet, which has inspired her to have greater ambitions and enter the entertainment industry. I thought that with my unique and proud family background, I would be able to establish a foothold in the entertainment industry as quickly as I did on the internet. But when she actually came in, she realized how reckless her decision was this time. The biggest obstacle standing in the way of her goal is the actor named John Lindsay. With the book Painting and Calligraphy handed down from generation to generation, he became famous in the niche circle of painting and calligraphy. As a result, her original plan of creating a talented female character on the same type of program will not work. After all, if the effect is not good enough and someone specifically compares it, it will be as tragic as you can imagine. Even if the effect is not bad, people will still say that it is unfair. How could she bear this? So I can only continue to follow my previous style and emphasize my family background. After all, there will always be ordinary people who are curious and longing for me at this level. But she still felt unwilling to do so. Cao Xinyan also went out of her way to check John Lindsay's family background quietly. Her parents were just businessmen before and went bankrupt a few years ago. With such a family background that is inferior to hers in every way, why should they block the path she originally wanted to take? The old man in Yuanhui who always had a dark face was actually so kind to John Lindsay. Thinking about what the old man had just taught him, his dissatisfaction with being treated differently suddenly came to his mind. By the time Cao Xinyan came to her senses, she was already standing in front of the camera in front of John Lindsay, who was holding a cup and preparing to drink tea. She quickly composed herself and said, "Hello, Teacher John, I am Cao Xinyan. Nice to meet you." John Lindsay looked at the girl in front of her who suddenly walked up to her and introduced herself, and then glanced at the camera that was following her. Even though she had expected that she would be photographed after opening the screen, she did not expect that the guests would come directly to say hello so solemnly, leaving her speechless for a moment. "Just love it?" He nodded and simply responded, "Hello." Cao Xinyan was so aroused by her somewhat overly casual tone that her original plan of retreating was instantly wiped out. "I have seen Teacher Jiang's paintings on the show, and I really admire your painting style, but before, I only saw them through the screen. I can only feel 3 points of charm. I wonder if I can take this opportunity to ask Teacher Jiang for advice." This was said rather euphemistically, but even Yuan Hui, who had always spoken directly, felt the smell of gunpowder in it, not to mention the other people around him. The audience in the live broadcast room was also happy to watch the excitement. "Cao Xinyan is so brave this time, please give me a thumbs up." Is Cao Xinyan dissatisfied with John Lindsay's first step in making a name for herself in calligraphy and painting? After all, according to the various foreshadowings this girl has made since her debut, she obviously wants to set up a talented woman to get out of the industry. I have seen Cao Xinyan writing calligraphy and painting in the live broadcast room before. Her skills are indeed not bad. She deserves to be from an artistic family. John Lindsay's performance on the show was also good. I really want to see two beautiful ladies competing on the same stage. I am going to say it straight, let's fight, pick up the pen and let's fight. For a time, even the barrage about encountering Mr. Shen by chance was pushed to the bottom. Even the director of the program who was hiding behind the scenes couldn't hold it back when he saw what Cao Xinyan was doing on the screen. He blurted out, "Nice job." He didn't care that the show was already a little derailed, he only knew that this was more viewers will click into the live showroom. But before John Lindsay could say anything this time, Yuan Hui frowned and said, "Xinyan, You guys are filming a show, aren't you? Xiaozhang is the old man I specially invited here today. You said you wanted to ask for advice when you came up. I do not. Cao Xinyan was originally full of confidence. She expected that Zhang Lingzi would most likely not refuse in front of the camera, otherwise she would show her cowardice. But I never expected that Zhang Lingzi was specially invited by the old man Yuan Hui. She always thought that Zhang Lingzi came to visit Yuan Hui. Other people around him and the audience in the live broadcast room couldn't help but be speechless after hearing these words. There is a big difference between this proactive visit and a special invitation from the Vice President of the Calligraphy and Painting Association. Zhang Lingzi really has something. The Vice President of the Painting and Calligraphy Association specially invited him. How big a deal is this? Cao Xinyan took the initiative to ask for advice. Wouldn't she be humiliating herself in the end? Whether I can succeed in asking for advice is another matter. Mr. Senator, agree, we want to see it. Cao Xinyan didn't have to think twice to guess what the audience who was watching the live broadcast at this moment wanted to see next. She definitely didn't just quit like that. I could only bite the bullet and continue. Grandpa Yuan, can you lend me Teacher Zhang for a while? I really want to ask Teacher Zhang for advice. Yuan Hui shook his beard and looked at Zhang Lingzi. Zhang Lingzi raised her eyes and looked at Cao Xinyan, then glanced at Zhang Ziyu and several other guests, whose eyes were filled with the words "Watch a good show." You didn't come to the restaurant to eat? When you saw me, you said you wanted to ask for advice. Is that polite? There was no anger in her voice, it sounded like she was simply curious. But directly pointed out 2 points that have been ignored by everyone. This is a restaurant, a place to eat. It is impolite to rashly disturb someone who is having a meal, and there is nothing very urgent that needs to be reminded immediately. Before Cao Xinyan could look embarrassed and wanted to explain, Zhang Lingzi had already picked up the teacup on the table again. If you want to ask me for advice, I think I also have the right to refuse. Serving tea to see guests off. This is it. Although it is a pity not to see the competition on the same stage, it is also quite refreshing to see Zhang Lingzi's response. Now it makes Cao Xinyan a bit self-righteous. This has been rejected, why haven't you left yet? I come from a traditional art family, so I don't think I don't understand the principle of serving tea and seeing off guests. Cao Xinyan naturally knew this rule, but she was so confused by Zhang Lingzi's unreasonable response that she didn't react at all for a while. It wasn't until he was quietly pulled on his arm by the guests standing behind him that Zhang came back to his senses, blushed, and said goodbye. Zhang Ziyu could only continue walking in with a few guests no matter how unwilling he was to see no good show. It wasn't until he turned the corner that he took the opportunity to look back quickly, and was stung by Shen Yunqing's action of picking up the coat hanging on the side of the screen and putting it on Zhang Lingzi. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 526. After coming out of the restaurant, Yuan Hui took the initiative to explain, old Cao is Cao Xinyan's grandfather just now, and is the president of the Painting and Calligraphy Association. This old guy has Cao Xinyan, his precious granddaughter, and he has raised her to a certain extent, which has resulted in this girl always being she is very willful and thinks that everyone will accommodate her just because she is young, so don't worry, Xiaozhang. In front of the camera before, Qian Yuchen remained silent for fear of saying the wrong thing. Now he also apologized quickly, Miss Zhang and Mr. Shen, I really didn't know that there was a program crew from the association coming to shoot today. If I had known earlier. If so, I'll invite you over another day. Will it have any bad impact on you if so many things happened? There should be some impact. Zhang Lingzi's words made Qian Yushen's face become more anxious, but there shouldn't be any bad impact. She neither said anything wrong nor did anything wrong, and she was not worried at all even if she was photographed. Qian Yishan suddenly let out a long sigh of relief. Yuan Hui felt relieved when he saw Zhang Lingzi still looking relaxed and carefree. Then he expressed the plan that had been lingering in his mind before eating. We have been chatting for so long before. If you two are not in a hurry to go back, we can just write and communicate. This exchange is different from Cao Xinyan's previous discussion. Asking for advice is more or less about arguing over who is stronger. The main focus of the exchange is simple and casual. Zhang Lingzi had just finished her meal and was too lazy to say much. Yuan Hui's suggestion was exactly what he wanted. The four of them simply moved to a nearby activity room. There is a huge table in the center of the activity room, with pens, inks, paper, inkstones and paints placed on the shelves around it. It can be said that everything is available. Select the paper, pen, ink sticks and paints you want to use, and place them on the desk. After adjusting the color, Yuan picked up the pen and drew a few waves on the paper. Zhang Lingzi recognized at a glance that it was a copy of the water waves in blue waves and everything. I have practiced many times, and I have learned something from the previous chat. This brush stroke is the most satisfying I have ever done, but it is still far from the painting you picked up at your fingertips. Yuan Hui followed him with expectant eyes. Zhang Lingzi saw that Shen Yunqing turned a deaf ear and just quietly adjusted the colors. She knew that this person was not going to do it himself, so she simply picked up the color, dipped it in the color he had just mixed, and put pen to paper. Yuan Hui had already walked over with his own painting. He carefully read Zhang Lingzi's writing from start to finish. After comparing, he closed his eyes and reviewed it quietly before starting to readjust the colors and start painting again. After that, not only the water waves, but also the two people exchanged some painting methods on mountains, rocks, trees, flowers, birds, insects, and fish. Zhang Lingzi felt comfortable during the exchange. After all, there were people beside her to help adjust colors, wash and wipe brushes. She only had to put pen to paper. However, this made Qian Yihan, who was doing nothing for nothing, stared at dissatisfiedly by his teacher several times, and in the end he felt a little resentful towards Shen Yunqing. Why are you so considerate? Until he noticed that the teacher took off his reading glasses and rubbed his eyes, Qian Yishan glanced at his watch and mustered up the courage to speak. Teacher, it's almost 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Don't you have a meeting at 3:30? Why don't you meet Miss Zhang? This is the end of the exchange of calligraphy and painting. Only during the break can we be energetic. Yuan Hui hesitated for a moment before he put down his pen still unfinished. He looked at the piles of rice paper with drawings in front of him. Some were satisfied and some were dissatisfied. Okay, you can help me sort it out later. After giving instructions to his disciples, he looked at Zhang Lingzi and Shen Yunqing who were sitting opposite. Xiao Zhang, that's all for today's communication. Thank you for staying with my old man for such a long time. Although winter is coming soon, but outside the association, the park is pretty well maintained, and there aren't many people out to play at this time. If you're not busy, you can stop by and take a walk to get some fresh air. I have also benefited a lot. Zhang Lingzi stood up as she spoke. Then you go and do your work, Yunqing, and I will go out for a walk. After Yuan went back to his office to rest, Qian Yihan was responsible for seeing Zhang Lingzi and Shen Yunqing off. Hand the two of them to the car parked in front of the information building, watched the car leave, and then hurried back to the activity room. When she came, she just closed the door and hadn't even had time to clear the table. As soon as she turned into the corridor where the activity room was located, she saw that the door of the activity room that she had taken before was actually open. She felt terrible and ran over quickly. As soon as I reached the door, I heard voices coming from inside. Can this really be drawn with just one stroke? It looks just like the real thing. The eyes are so beautifully drawn that even a person like me who doesn't know how to draw finds them so vivid and lifelike. I like this one. The blank space is probably water. I really want to know how in an ink painting, people can tell at a glance that the blank space is water. Seeing someone picking up a painting that was not yet dry and about to touch it, Qian Yishan didn't care that there were several shots inside, and quickly shouted, "Don't touch it." The people in the activity room who were vying to express their exclamations couldn't help but pause and all looked towards the door. Cao Xinyan narrowed her eyes when she saw Qian Yishan walking in, and explained with a smile, "We just wanted to come in and experience the charm of traditional calligraphy and painting with our own hands. We didn't expect that there were so many newly completed works in this activity room, so we wanted to first appreciate it. This sister doesn't mind, right?" After finishing speaking, Qian Yushan didn't wait for him to speak. He just picked up a painting of two little fat birds and looked at the camera to appreciate it. "I like this one the best. It looks like a fluffy little bird. He's cute and yet smart. Well, let me guess, the one who is best at painting birds in the association is Grandma Han. I guess this painting was not painted by Grandma Han, but by her disciples. No, do you know if my guess is right? Grandma Han, Xinyan should be talking about Mr. Han Lifang, whose flower and bird paintings are indeed outstanding. Let's put it this way, foreign royal families have collections, and they are only small-scale works. Large-scale works can only be used for touring exhibitions abroad. It feels like Xinyan is very familiar with the big guys in the calligraphy and painting world. One is Grandma Han and the other is Grandpa Yuan. I admire her very much. Our goal is Rome. I was born in Rome, so I won't be envious if I don't. I won't be envious." At this moment, I was sitting in front of the screen with tears of envy flowing from the corner of my mouth. Qian Yuchain looked at Cao Xinyan's confident look and opened her mouth, not knowing what to say for a moment. She wanted to save some face for Cao Xinyan, but unfortunately she saw that Cao Xinyan didn't know how to restrain herself and picked up another one to admire and comment on it. She was so embarrassed that she almost had cancer. If you can't bear it anymore, you don't need to bear it any longer. Well, let me interrupt. The works you just looked at and the pile next to them are all Miss Jiang's practice works. They are no different from those big names in calligraphy and painting you mentioned. It's true. I was here when she was painting this. I was in a hurry to send it off before I had time to clean it up, so you guys came in, so can you step aside and come in to experience it after I finish cleaning the table?" After saying it in one breath, she felt comfortable. The activity room fell into an eerie silence. The barrage in the live broadcast room went blank for a while. After a while, a few scattered comments slowly crossed the screen. "Ah, this. It's so embarrassing. To be honest, I'm a little worried about Cao Xinyan." Cao Xinyan wanted to ask Zhang Lingzi for advice before, but now it seems that there is no need to ask for advice. After listening to her previous words, she has already admitted that her level is obviously far behind. Before someone else's barrage could be posted, the screen suddenly went black in the live broadcast room with a wave of Cao Xinyan's hand. The program is interrupted. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 527. Chapter 527. It's a risk. A live variety show, a day in the life of a celebrity that doesn't make much splash at all, has an ordinary name, invites guests who are either newcomers to the entertainment industry or are outside the third-tier entertainment industry, and the content can only be regarded as mediocre, has suddenly become a hot topic. The search topic list simply shocked many artists who were planning to spend money to buy themselves hot searches. In 1 minute, I want to know what the fuss is about on this little piece of shit. You must know that there are countless hot search lists. If you climb up, one of them will fall off. They were all prepared, but you suddenly jumped up and caught them off guard. For a time, countless hands clicked in out of curiosity. Then I was overwhelmed by a stream of topics. Ify's the scene where a celebrity was slapped in the face today. Hashtag the day of a star revealed was filmed live at the Calligraphy and Painting Association. Hashtag John Lingzi appeared at the Painting and Calligraphy Association. Hashtag I didn't meet Mr. Shen in The Legend of the World by chance in Yinhe Palace, but I actually met the real person in a small variety show live broadcast. Hashtag the relationship between John Lingzi and Mr. Shen seems not to be simple. Hashtag regarding the face-slapping scene that the public most likes to watch, the mysterious and high-end internal environment of the Painting and Calligraphy Association, plus John Lingzi who has just been trending because of love rumors, and the mysterious Mr. Shen, no matter which topic it is, it attracts many people. Unable to control myself, I reached out and clicked in. So some people can only watch as the hot search term related to the little broken program rushes forward with an unstoppable momentum. It feels numb, it really feels numb. It seems that it is not a good time to buy hot searches today, so let's try another day. After the live broadcast was interrupted, many viewers waited patiently, but after waiting and waiting for the live broadcast to resume, they simply turned to the internet to compete for comments. The embarrassment in reality continues. Fortunately, without the camera, Cao Xinyan finally felt less embarrassed, and the look she looked at Qian Yihan was more undisguisedly malicious. But how could Qian Yucheng be afraid of such a little girl who only relied on her family background to think she was right? She has earned her current status and career by herself. What Cao Xinyan has is that she has a grandfather who is the president of the Painting and Calligraphy Association. Everyone in this association will be pleasant to Cao Xinyan because of her grandfather's sake. Moreover, it is impossible for President Cao to cover the sky with just one hand in the association, otherwise Cao Xinyan's name would have been on the Calligraphy and Painting Association's member list. The reason why there is no such thing is that Cao Xinyan's own calligraphy and painting skills are simply not up to the threshold of the Painting and Calligraphy Association. You must know that the membership evaluation requires cross-review and voting by several big guys in the association, and the president cannot interfere. She was not afraid of being stared at by a person who was not even qualified to be a member of the Calligraphy and Painting Association, even if he was blinded by the glare. Why are you so embarrassed to glare at me? Miss Zhang refused your advice in the restaurant before. In my opinion, that was her kindness. Otherwise, given your level of calligraphy and painting, putting your works together with Miss Jiang's would be a dimensionality reduction attack. It's a good thing for you. I've obviously hung a do not disturb sign outside the door of this activity room, but you actually brought someone from the program team in and made a big fuss about me with Miss Jiang's work. If I hadn't interrupted you, you would probably have beaten all the seniors. Don't you just rely on the fact that those seniors don't even watch this variety show. Qian Yucheng spoke quickly, crisply, and loudly. Don't forget that her main job is to be a teacher. How can she be a teacher without any eloquence? After saying these words, Cao Xinyan's face turned red, purple, blue, and black in turns, and finally it was so dark that she couldn't watch it. Other guests who were still holding works in their hands and forgot to put them down for a while also quickly put their things back on the table, looked at each other and silently exited the activity room. The people who left after that were the people from the program team. Qian Yishan glanced at them and said nothing. She didn't believe that these people didn't see the do not disturb sign, and they still dared to come in after seeing it. It was just because they were following Cao Xinyan and felt confident. Looking at Cao Xinyan, who was still standing there like a wooden stake staring at her, "Why don't you leave? Wait until I ask you to go out." Almost as soon as the others stepped out, Qian Yishan closed the door of the activity room with a bang. Cao Xinyan gritted her teeth as she heard the sound of the door being locked behind her. She raised her eyes and met the eyes of the 4 guests who had been supporting her before, as well as the program staff. She made a move that no one expected without thinking. "Turn around, go in the opposite direction, run." Everyone left in the corridor was stunned for a moment. It wasn't until her figure disappeared in the corridor and the sound of her footsteps became distant that anyone came back to his senses. Wait, what does she mean? Are you not going to continue filming? Obviously, I can't bear it anymore and don't want to face the camera anymore. Then you can't be so irresponsible, just explain it to the audience in the live broadcast room later. She is her, and you are you. It's okay if you are thick-skinned, but who is Cao Xinyan? She is the little princess that everyone in this calligraphy and painting association gives face to, so she is thin-skinned. Then what should we do? Should we continue filming? Wait for the director's notification. The director, who was hiding in the background, went crazy with joy when he found out that his little show was on the hot search. When he received news from the filming staff that Cao Xinyan had escaped, it didn't affect his good mood. When asked, "Do you want to continue shooting?" Without thinking, he replied, "Shoot, keep shooting." When the machine is turned on, you can think of any reason to explain to the audience why Cao Xinyan was suddenly absent, and then treat it as a visit to the Painting and Calligraphy Association. We can do it together or separately, and whoever performs well will be given the big screen. As soon as the last sentence came out, the 4 guests were all shocked. In the past, the big screen position was reserved exclusively for Cao Xinyan, but now everyone has the opportunity. The live broadcast started again after being interrupted for nearly 10 minutes. The barrage passed by. It actually opened again. I thought it was going to end immediately. Fortunately, I was patient enough. Hey, where is Cao Xinyan's live broadcast room? Why are there only 4 guests? Where did Cao Xinyan go? You're not too embarrassed to show up and just give up, right? This psychological endurance is not good. How can I quit suddenly? I just plan to see her. The 4 guests, who were reminded by the director, quickly helped to explain. Xinyan suddenly felt a little unwell and will not appear in the next live broadcast. Next, our 4 tourists will lead you to visit the beautiful interior scenery of the Painting and Calligraphy Association. If you have anything you want to see, you can post a barrage and we will try our best to satisfy you. Although you can't see what kind of state Cao Xinyan will be in after being slapped in the face during the live broadcast, looking at the hard performance of other guests, most of the audience is quite coaxed, and soon the live broadcast room becomes happy again. I also posted a barrage to see if I could run into Zhang Lingzi again. The guest who still doesn't know that the host has left, let's work hard. Cao Xinyan ran to her grandfather's office in one breath. But there was no one inside. After asking, I found out that Grandpa had gone to a meeting. After sitting blankly on the sofa for a while, she first regretted her impulsive behavior, but she couldn't bear to go back in such a dejected manner, so she pursed her lips and took out her mobile phone. Then the live broadcast room was reopened not long after she left, and the other 4 guests were wandering around the association according to the requirements on the barrage. There were also a few taunts here and there, and all of them were targeted at her. Clenched his teeth and left the live broadcast room without seeing anything, and saw the topic of her being slapped in the face by Zhang Lingzi's work on the hot search. It was the first time in her life that it was on a hot search topic. If it had been any other topic, she would have been so happy that she couldn't sleep. But now, she dropped her phone directly. Zhang Lingzi. Unknown that Zhang Lingzi, who had scrapped another mobile phone because of her, would be taking a leisurely walk with Shen Yunqing on the tree-lined path. Just now at the Painting and Calligraphy Association, I remember you told the elders that you have a collection room. Is it true or not? Real. What have you collected? A lot: calligraphy and painting, antiques, and some unpopular objects. Where is the collection room? In Z1. I'm going to have a look someday. Okay, your phone is ringing. Zhang Lingzi took out her mobile phone, looked at the front and back, and answered the video call from Tong Yu. Sister Tong, don't you start working only tomorrow? You are on the hot search again, do you know? Why didn't I know that you were still a hot search physique before? Zhang Lingzi shook her phone, and half of Shen Yunking's profile suddenly appeared on the screen. Tong Yu's tone on the other end suddenly changed. Mr. Shen is here too. I just forgot to mention that Mr. Shen is also on the hot search this time. The topic of encountering Mr. Shen by chance has come up again. You must be careful out there. Is it because of the program group we met at the Painting and Calligraphy Association just now? Well, that show was live broadcast, just like the survival live broadcast you participated in before. The show didn't have much splash, but when you and Mr. Shen showed up, you just slapped Cao Xinyan in the face. Oh, now it's better. With the show jumping directly onto the hot search, this will probably make many colleagues feel itchy. Me, slap Cao Xinyan in the face. Zhang Lingzi frowned. I remember that I didn't accept her advice. That's because you didn't see the development of the live broadcast room later. You will find out later if you check the hot searches. I see you are outside. In short, be careful. Tong Yuqian and Wan warned each other before hanging up the video. Zhang Lingzi pulled Shen Yunqing to a leisure bench covered with fallen leaves and sat down. You cover me and wait until I see how I slap that Cao Xinyan in the face. There are good people who have already summarized the whole story on hot search topics, and you can see it with just one search. Zhang Lingzi and Shen Yunqing met and looked at each other silently after reading the cause and effect. This is my first time seeing someone in such a hurry. Creak, the sound of feet stepping on fallen leaves interrupted Zhang Lingzi's speechlessness at this moment. The next second I heard a girl's voice in the woods nearby. There are chairs in front, let's go there to rest. Hearing the footsteps approaching, Zhang Lingzi and Shen Yunqing looked at each other again. The next second, she put the hat on her coat on her head, held up the face of the person in front of her and pressed it against her. The big hat immediately blocked their faces, and their hair was intertwined. Ah! Go quickly, walk quickly, disturbing others' love will lead to a lonely life. Soon, the messy footsteps quickly moved away again. Zhang Lingzi squinted her eyes and looked at the ears that turned red within a few seconds. She lifted her hat and said softly, "Ah, it's so dangerous." Shen Yunqing. End of this chapter. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 528. For Cao Xinyan, even if she dropped her phone, she couldn't get rid of the angry hot search in her heart. For Zhang Lingzi, it was better to take the opportunity to tease Shen Yunqing, whose ears were red. Is it hot? Yes, a little. I didn't expect this trick to be quite effective. Those little girls must have thought I was kissing you. Shen Yunqing moved his lips, hesitated for a moment and decided not to say anything. Not only those little girls thought so, but he, also thought so. However, Zhang Lingzi also remembered not to tease people too much, and she would stop teasing when she felt good. Do you want to have dinner with An and with me tonight? No, I'll send you to the University of Washington, where you two will be more comfortable. Then you go back and paint. Well, we still need to make it old. This step is a bit time-consuming. This is his own fault. Zhang Lingzi patted Shen Yunqing's shoulder comfortingly. Thank you for your hard work. Seeing that it was getting late, the two of them went straight back to the place where the vehicle was stored after exiting the tree-lined path. Zhang Lingzi sat in the passenger seat and fastened her seat belt, looking at Shen Yunqing driving skillfully. After this busy period, I will also get a driver's license and then buy a car. Although I usually have a car to pick me up and drop me off when traveling for work, it seems quite interesting to drive by myself. Of course there is one more thing, Shen Yunqing can drive it, so she should also be able to do it. Shen Yunqing nodded in agreement. I can help arrange it. Also, the car was parked in front of a cafe at the back gate of G. Thinking that the coat he wore before had appeared in the live show, Zhang Lingzi changed into a coat in the car just in case. And I will take a taxi directly back after dinner. I will send you a message when we get home. After saying this, he was holding his wrist as he was about to put on a hat and mask. She was stunned for a moment, and then suddenly realized. I quite hold a grudge. Shen Yunqing watched Zhang Lingzi enter the cafe, and then slowly drove away. Asterisk. G. School of Electronics and Information Technology, the end of get out of class bell has rang. Su Lingyan and his roommates walked out of the classroom with their books in hand and followed the flow of people. Soon it was time for several people in the dormitory to vote on what to eat for dinner. Just when Su Lingyan was about to cast her crucial vote between Xiao Chao and Ma Latang, her cell phone that had just been muted suddenly rang. When she picked up the phone and saw the notes on the screen, her little face, which was originally focused on thinking about the problem, suddenly became vivid. After making a pause gesture to the roommate on the side, he couldn't wait to click on the call, "Sister." Several roommates looked at each other immediately when they heard the sound. They have been in school for more than 2 months now, and they are in the same major. They have been together day and night for such a long time, and everyone has a basic understanding of each other. But when it comes to whose life experience is the most bizarre, the youngest Su Lingyan definitely takes the cake. Now this sister, as they expected, is the youngest sister whom they recognize but are closer to than a close relative. However, this sister is really a bit mysterious to them. They didn't see her when school started. It's been 2 months since school started and she hasn't been seen yet. Even the most convenient voice calls nowadays seem to be very few and the chatting time is not long. Anyway, it doesn't look like the most intimate relationship, the youngest said. This time the call also hung up in less than a minute. But they found that the youngest who put down his phone looked happier. "I'm sorry, I won't go to the cafeteria with you tonight. My sister is coming to see me, and I will go out to eat with her." One person said quickly, "Is it your mysterious sister?" Su Lingyan, "Well, will you go back to the dormitory tonight? If not, we will help you tell the dormitory aunt. Go back, come back after eating." A few people watched as Su Lingyan waved and trotted away happily. They didn't even have time to ask if they wanted to help get the textbooks back. It's the first time I've seen the youngest so lively and happy. It seems like she has a really good relationship with her sister, and she's very happy after every phone call. Well, I also hope that a sister will come to see me. Su Lingyan jogged all the way to the back door of the school, then stopped to catch his breath. When the light turned green, he walked quickly on the zebra crossing towards the opposite side. "Only when I walked to the door of the cafe my sister mentioned, I encountered a little obstacle." A boy carrying a dark gray computer bag happened to push open the door of the cafe and saw a hint of surprise on Su Lingyan's face. "Classmate Su." Su Lingyan paused as he was about to go in. He raised his head to see the boy's face clearly and nodded politely, "Monitor. You come to the cafe too, you go first." "Thank you, Ben." Su Lingyan, a surprised female voice interrupted him, and then the boy's arm was hugged by the girl who rushed over. "Are you going to enter the cafe? The consumption in this cafe is pretty good for ordinary students like you." "Expensive, you don't want the poverty-stricken scholarship quota?" Min Chen said he still wants to help you get it, but if you are seen entering the cafe. Lin Minchen frowned and interrupted unhappily, "Su Jiajia, please stop saying a few words." "Forget it, you go in first." "What, did I say something wrong? I'm just kindly reminding you." "Wait a minute," Su Lingyan raised his voice slightly and interrupted both of them. "When did I say that I wanted to apply for a poverty-stricken student aid quota? Why didn't I know that?" Su Jiajia was also stunned. "You didn't say anything, so how come I saw Min Chen drafting your name on the application list?" Lin Minchen pulled away Su Jiajia's hand holding his arm, and met Su Lingyan's questioning eyes, feeling inexplicably uncomfortable. "I see that your life is quite simple. Your school bag has been washed and discolored but you are still using it, and other things." "Okay, that's enough, no need to say more." This was the first time that Su Lingyan discovered that he, the squad leader, had self-righteous qualities, then please cross out my name, squad leader. I don't need this quota, and I don't need you. A self-righteous kindness. Who do you think is self-righteous? Min Chen obviously has good intentions. Su Ling'an didn't even look at her this time. He opened another door and walked in without looking back. Lin Minchen had no choice but to swallow back the apology he was about to make. He let go of the hand pushing the door and said, "Forget it, I won't go in." "Come in, why don't you come in? Are you afraid of Su Ling'an? I want to see who she wants to see in the cafe." The two of them were arguing. As soon as they entered, they heard a pleasant female voice coming from the innermost corner of the cafe, "Enan, here." Just by listening to the sound, the two of them could imagine what kind of woman was sitting in the corner. The powerful yet gentle person in charge is still very young and has a royal sister type. At the same time, he has an unusually close relationship with Anan, who is called Ding Ran. Then they saw Su Ling'an, who was a few steps ahead of them, walking quickly toward the corner with joy on his face like a baby swallow. Su Jiajia rolled her eyes and walked over. Lin Minchen had no time to catch her, glanced at the corner, and then lifted his heels. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 529. I ordered you a cup of hot milk. If it's sweet, you can add sugar yourself. Zhang Lingzi pushed the milk cup in front of Su Ling'an, looked up and down, and frowned. Have you lost weight? No, Su Ling'an waved his hands quickly, but after being looked at by the eyes in front of him, he was still a little weak. It's just a pound lighter. You don't weigh much to begin with, but 1 pound is already obvious. Are you tired from your major? Fortunately, although there are a lot of courses, they are quite fulfilling. Where is my sister? The previous work has been almost completed. I just had a few days of rest and will continue to be busy tomorrow. I chatted with Sister Zheng a few days ago. Are you going to go abroad next? Well, it shouldn't be more than a week. Zhang Lingzi hesitated for a moment, but still asked, you and your grandpa? Speaking of grandpa, Su Ling'an's eyebrows dimmed. Last week Zhang Lingxian suddenly committed suicide and went to the hospital. It seemed to be quite serious. He has not been discharged yet. Grandpa also went to visit once. After all, she is his granddaughter. I will see you when I come back. I was hesitant to speak. I didn't give him a chance to speak, so I made an excuse and went back to school. He called me yesterday, but I didn't answer, but I sent him a message to say he was safe. No wonder I think something's wrong with you. Since it's not because of studying, there's something going on with the Zhang family again, Zhang Lingzi said, reaching out to cover Su Ling'an's hand on the table. Since you don't want to pay attention to that, don't literally. Zhang Lingxian will die and let her go. The Zhang family is getting more and more chaotic now, so it's best not to get involved. Just remember that the only person in the Zhang family who has anything to do with you is your grandfather. Su Ling'an was stunned. Sister, you also know. Your grandpa probably didn't tell you. He was probably too embarrassed to say it. It was your brother-in-law who originally revealed this to him. Su Ling'an, I originally wanted to hide it from my sister. After all, she almost felt sick when she accidentally learned about such a dirty and smelly thing. She didn't want her sister to know about it at all. Okay, let's not talk about these things that affect our good mood. Let's talk about what you want to eat later. This is my first time here at Hueda, and you are more familiar with this area than I am. Su Ling'an opened his mouth and said, actually, I have never eaten out. When I was at school, I always ate in the cafeteria. But when we had a class reunion in our dormitory before, we went to a Cantonese-style morning and evening tea buffet by the back door. It tasted quite good. There is also a private room, Sister can try it? Okay, you will lead the way later, and we will go there to eat. Seat next door. Zhang Jiajia held a cup of latte in her hand and listened to the voices behind her. It's just that the two people spoke very quietly. Even if she listened attentively, she could only hear vague words like grandpa, suicide, and Zhang family, which made her want to turn around and sit at the table. Lin Minchen, who was sitting opposite, raised his head from the tablet and saw her looking like she was eavesdropping. He frowned and asked, "What are you doing?" "Keep your voice down," Zhang Jiajia hurriedly hissed, leaned over and whispered, "You are the class monitor. Haven't you seen the information of everyone in our class before? There is only one grandmother in Su Lingan's immediate family, right? Now, right? Why did another sister appear? And guess what I just heard, she also had a grandfather, and she mentioned something about the Zhang family and suicide. I think there must be something fishy about it, maybe Su Lingan went there through the sister. Did the Zhang family do something immoral and cause someone to commit suicide?" Lin Minchen listened carefully at first, but after hearing it, he just felt outrageous. "I think you have such a rich imagination to write fantasy novels. This is called reasonable speculation based on existing conditions. Don't tell me that you are not curious about who Su Lingan's sister is, then why are you sitting here with me?" Lin Minchen's words suddenly stopped, and he looked past Zhang Jiajia to the top of her head. His pupils tightened, and his whole body became visibly nervous. Zhang Jiajia wanted to ask him what he wanted to say, but when he saw his sudden appearance and the direction of his gaze, he suddenly realized something and froze. A light voice came from behind, "Say, why don't you say it anymore? Didn't you say it very energetically just now?" Zhang Jiajia turned her head around like a dying robot. When she met the eyes that were looking down at her coldly, she could see clearly that the face was still bright and dazzling under the dim lights of the cafe. She had seen this face on the hot search when she was playing on her phone at noon today, and now it was really displayed in front of her. But it didn't make her feel happy at all, only a layer of fear that became heavier and heavier in her heart. "Ginger, Ginger." Zhang Lingzi raised her eyebrows upon hearing this. "You still recognize me?" Zhang Jiajia smiled more ugly than crying and nodded. Eavesdropping, arrangement, villain's tricks. When people around him who noticed the movement were about to look over, Zhang Lingzi picked up the mask on the table and put it on. Her lowered eyes fell on Zhang Jiajia's carefully made-up face. The makeup on her face said, "How ugly." At a close distance, the face that is so stunning that it makes one lose consciousness is covered, but the eyes above the mask are made even more clear and clear, as if they can see through people's hearts. Being looked at by such a pair of eyes, Zhang Jiajia felt pitifully small for a moment. Even if her appearance, which she had always been proud of, was called ugly, she suddenly lost her voice and was unable to say anything to refute. She could only watch helplessly as the man held the hand of Su Lingan, whom she had always looked down upon, and walked away from her. Until the two figures disappeared in front of his eyes, the feeling of drowning and being deprived of his breath slowly faded away. Zhang Jiajia breathed heavily, not even caring about the coffee in the cup in his hand spilling out on his body. Lin Minchen, who had been sitting quietly across from him, suddenly picked up the backpack beside him and got up and chased after him. Zhang Jiajia watched him run out of the cafe, opened her mouth, but didn't say a word until the last word. "Classmate Su." Zhang Lingzi and Su Lingan were walking to the Cantonese restaurant where they were going to eat later. It was not far away and they planned to walk there directly. The shout from behind made Su Lingan pause. Zhang Lingzi also stopped. "Sister, this is Lin Minchen, our class monitor." I know when the two of them talked before, they thought they were speaking quietly, but for her, even if the voice was lower, she could still hear it effortlessly. The two of them turned back to look at the young man running towards the side. Lin Minchen walked up to the two of them. After standing still, he bowed to Su Lingan as soon as possible. "Classmate Su, I'm sorry. Su Ling'an was directly shocked by his action. I thought you might need help and let Zhang Jiajia say those things. I'm sorry. Su Ling'an felt a little complicated after hearing this. She actually didn't hear what Zhang Jiajia said at all. She didn't ask, and her sister didn't say anything, but she knew it wasn't a good thing. The only thing she didn't expect was that Lin Minchen chased her out and apologized to her. Lin Minchen pursed his lips and glanced carefully at Zhang Lingzi, who was standing behind Su Ling'an. When the other party looked over, he immediately understood why Zhang Jiajia, who had always been eloquent and strong-willed, couldn't say a word just now. He was admitted to BG, and was successfully elected class president among the talented and top academics everywhere. Naturally, his personal ability can be regarded as the best among the best. But the look in this man's eyes still made him feel like he had nothing to hide. The pressure on him to face the school leaders directly at school was not as great as it is now. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 530. Before Su Ling'an could open his mouth to forgive, Lin Minchen bowed politely in the direction of Zhang Lingzi, turned around and ran over. Su Ling'an. It feels like the monitor is very afraid of my sister. Anan, what help? Speaking of this, Su Ling'an was a bit dumbfounded. Each of our majors has some poverty subsidy quotas to provide some students from poor families with tuition exemptions and subsidies for living expenses. I don't know why our monitor thinks that I am too. I didn't even know he needed this, so he wrote my name on it. Even if there is no such thing as acknowledgement of relatives, she has no intention of applying for this quota. The rewards given by the school after the college entrance examination scores were released, the remuneration for acting and guest roles, plus the fact that the University of Washington had exempted tuition fees and provided subsidies when they recruited her, she was so full that she still had to occupy a quota for poor students. The monitor of our class is usually very responsible, but he is a bit self-righteous this time. He thought he was doing my best. Zhang Lingzi saw that the girl looked a little distressed and reached out to touch the back of her head, and helped analyze. He feels that he is strong, and he thinks that you are weak, so the strong self can pity the weak you. You don't have to have a psychological burden for this. They are more likely to want to impress themselves. When you become stronger, he will naturally not have this idea. As for Lin Minchen's hint of emotion when he looked at Anan, Zhang Lingzi chose to ignore it. Even though that boy was indeed excellent in the eyes of the world, she still looked down upon him. My own sister, if she wants to find a partner, she must find the best and most suitable one. It was already approaching 10 o'clock after finishing the Cantonese-style evening tea buffet Su Ling'an mentioned. Zhang Lingzi sent people to the back door of Ji, watched Su Ling'an enter the school gate carrying the late-night snacks packed for her roommates, and then turned around to look over. She waved her hand, turned around and got into a taxi parked on the side of the road. Although the reunion was short-lived, knowing that the other person is doing well makes me satisfied. Anan is back. I was about to call you. Since you haven't come back so late, we thought you had decided to go back to live with your sister. Wow, it smells so good. I seem to smell my favorite freshly baked pineapple buns. Su Ling'an put the food box in his hand on the table. Sister also packed some late-night snacks. Do you want to eat them? I want it, I want it. I declare that An's sister will be my sister from now on. Sister is so considerate. The people who had already gone to bed all stood up and gathered together as quickly as possible. Which Cantonese buffet did you eat at? No wonder it takes so long to eat every time I go there. I can't wait to stay until the last second. Shrimp dumplings, give me one. Do you mind if I cut the pineapple buns with a fruit knife? The amount is too much. The single order in that store is quite expensive. My sister is very generous. It took such a lot of effort to carry it all the way back. Su Ling'an poured a glass of water and sat aside, watching the roommates eating happily while one sister shouted happily and took a sip of water with a smile. I thought about it with some interest, and I wonder if these two people will be able to shout so happily when they really see my sister in the future. Asterisk. The lights at the entrance came on. Zhang Lingzi took out her mobile phone from her coat pocket, and put her coat on the hanger nearby. She was about to send a message to Shen Yunqing and Su Ling'an to say they were safe, when a voice call came in first. After looking at the note, she directly clicked connect. Lu Zhenzhen's cheerful and excited voice came out of the phone. "Sister Zixi, are you still asleep?" "No, I went out to have dinner with Anan, I just got home." "Oh, then Yao Yao and I will go to your place early tomorrow morning. Do you want to bring breakfast along the way?" "Bring it, just Xiaolong Bao with soy milk." "Okay, Sister Zixi, please go to bed early and we'll see you tomorrow." "See you tomorrow." After hanging up the phone and finishing the message that she had just not had time to send, Zhang Lingzi put the phone on the charger, took her pajamas and entered the bathroom. When she came out of the shower, her phone was fully charged. She took it with her and lay down on the bed. She first read Su Ling'an's reply, and then called Shen Yunqing about the video. "As soon as I connected, I saw a row of bookshelves in the background. This is in the study. Haven't you rested yet? Why did it take so long to paint a painting? I thought it would be the same time to make one old painting, and it would be the same time to make several paintings, so I painted 2 more paintings." "What 2 other paintings have you painted?" As soon as the screen on the mobile phone turned, Zhang Lingzi saw 3 works placed on the table. One is naturally blue waves and all things, and the other 2 are thousands of mountains and forests moving and Guangxia thousands of weights. If she remembered correctly, she had mentioned the latter 2 paintings in heritage. "Why do you want to paint these 2 pictures?" "Your Majesty said." Shen Yunqing stretched out his hand and clicked on the painting thousands of mountains and forests. "This is the beginning," and clicked on thousands of Guangxia. "This is the end." When he was about to write, he happened to think of these 2. A picture has a beginning and an end. Zhang Lingzi slowly moved from the 2 paintings to Shen Yunqing's fingers that were still stained with a few drops of paint. "Thousands of mountains and forests is not bad, thousands of towers. How do you remember the scene of the capital so well?" She was the one who finally reviewed the drawings for the renovation of the capital, and even she didn't dare to say that she could remember them so well. "Wait a minute, don't you still have the drawings of the capital of Dayan?" A chuckle came from the mobile phone, and the picture on the mobile phone screen was repeated again, this time replaced by several yellowed drawings preserved with a transparent special tool. There was even a circle she drew with a red pen on it, and she also wrote revision comments next to it. "As expected, I can't hide it from your Majesty." "Zhang Lingzi, you really have it, you." Shen Yunqing rarely interrupted her. "I won't be able to finish talking for a while. When your Majesty has free time, you can come and see it in person." Zhang Lingzi thought about the words, "I won't be able to finish my words in a while." After a moment of silence, she finally replied. She wanted to see how many things this man had collected that she didn't know about. "Don't work too late, go to bed early." Shen Yunqing hummed and walked out of the study with her cell phone. "I'm ready to rest." Zhang Lingzi woke up early in the morning and found her mobile phone under her neck. He quickly thought of how she fell asleep while talking to Shen Yunqing last night. She took out her phone and saw that the call lasted for nearly an hour. This was the first time she had fallen asleep while talking. She felt a little embarrassed when she thought of Shen Yunqing watching her holding her phone on the screen and falling asleep last night. At the same time, Lu Zhengzheng and Fang Yaozheng were standing outside the entrance door one after another. Sister Zixi usually wakes up at this time, but she is not used to setting an alarm clock. Sometimes she wakes up earlier and sometimes later anyway. "If we want to come over, this time is the right time." Lu Zhengzheng was imparting his experience while entering the password to open the door. Fang Yao was listening and nodding while carrying the packed breakfast. The 2 of them quietly pushed the door open and entered the house. "Sister Zixi doesn't seem to have gotten up yet. I'll go to the kitchen to serve breakfast first. You go to the bedroom to wake up Sister Zixi." Fan Yao nodded and followed the direction of Lu Zhenzhen's finger to the door of the master bedroom. Taking a deep breath, he raised his hand and knocked on the door. The door, which was originally just ajar, was knocked open. Zhang Lingzi had just rolled around on the bed holding the quilt to relieve her mood. She turned around when she heard a knock on the door, and saw Fan Yao's eyes widened in shock. "Think again about what you just did." She seemed to hear the sound of her own image being shattered again.